Hello everyone, and welcome to the knowledge session on embedded finance. Just to give you a context perspective, embedded finance is a particular practice which we do run very closely from the retail or from the corporate perspective. So, likewise, we'll try to share our experiences during the session also. And the idea is to have deep discussions on how does embedded finance works and what are the best things that works out when we talk about embedded finance, and basically what is embedded finance, which is typically get confused with it, and how the non-financial and financial entities can work together to give the better experience to the customer altogether. And of course, looking at the demand of the customer and the convenience, it is the one of the most you can say flourishing area right now, and technologically advancing, and new innovations are coming also in this area. So we'll try to discuss more about this. I'll have Mandhir also with me. So during the session, if there are any queries, you can use the Q&A box to put up those queries. And also you can raise your hand, you can or you can drop down the questions we can pick up during the session as the time permits. Once again, welcome you all for the knowledge session on embedded finance. And basically here we will try to touch more from the customer experience perspective, but also try to touch on the back end, like how does this back end works? I mean, what are the exact things that happens in the back end which allows us to provide financial services on the non-financial platform as well. So just to start with, I can see many of the people who are our what you can say the adopter of the webinar sessions have been joining webinar for multiple times, but there are a few new names also there. So considering that, would like to introduce our firm first. So we are the Digital Fifth. We are one of the largest fintech and digital finance consulting and advisory firm. I mean, the digital and the what you can say the BFSI is a sector which we have particularly into. Many of you might have attended our Bharat FinTech Summit as well in the earlier sessions, and we do try to focus more on the side which is into the BFSI sector and related to digital. That's where we largely do the consulting and advisory projects as well. So from the core team perspective, we have Samir, Shashank, Vikrant are our co-founders. And I'll just try to introduce from the firm perspective. We started in 2017. So now we are a 7-year-old firm now, and running along with the more than 25-member team, which is largely focusing on the consulting projects from the BFSI sector. So in this one, I would say that embedded finance was one of the practice which so particularly we started around 2 years back, but that has given a lot of experiences. So Mandhir also would be sharing his experiences from the embedded finance practice perspective. So as I was discussing, so far we have completed more than 100 projects, and working with a few of the top customers in the country from the fintech as well as from the banks and NBFCs perspective. So we are 25 member team now, and largely handling these projects from Mumbai, Bangalore, and also from the Delhi location now. So from the customer's perspective, as I was earlier mentioning, that we are working with large fintechs, bank and NBFC. Embedded finance again would be the key area where we largely working on, and from the international market perspective, or the government enabler investors and all. So corporate training is another segment which we do run apart from the advisory services and consultancy services. So that is something which we run from the perspective of doing the corporate trainings, as well as from the online training platforms which we have, which the when we have. Yeah. So from presence perspective, we have spread across. I mean, we have largely worked out inside the India only, because the opportunity and the adoption of digital is quite overwhelming in India. So, I mean, from outside the India perspective, yes, we do have done work there, but the focus perspective, we largely focus on being in India and try to adapt most and most things which are happening here on day-to-day basis. So as I was mentioning, we had done Bharat Fintech Summits for last 2 years, and this year in 2025 February we will be having this summit again. So the related communication would be coming in to you soon, as you are part of our newsletter and communication group perspective. But this is the event where we try to engage with a lot of people, be it from the fintech perspective, regulatory perspective. Banks and NBFCs are, of course, the one who participate into it. So, yeah, so we'll be releasing the agenda and few of the details very soon for this event. So from the services perspective, we do, as I was mentioning, our core business or core focus areas into the consulting. Along with that, we run partnerships as well. And definitely the corporate trainings are the one of the part which we focus on. We do in-person and online training as well when it comes to corporate training. Whereas in person, I mean, as everybody knows, is the most preferred way to have trainings. So, as I was saying on the consulting area, what do we focus on? We do focus on the digital strategy, open banking advisory, project and program management, product management, as well as digital product benchmarking perspective of few of the initiatives which we run on. As you see, the open banking advisory, digital strategy, both are pretty very close to the embedded finance. I mean, that's how we do get chance to work on the projects which are related to embedded finance into it, and try to gain maximum what we can gain the knowledge from the market as well as from the experiences, and of course the customers who are the one who really teaches everyone how to you run the practice for the specifically for the products like embedded finance, where you are putting the financial services into the non-financial applications, which is quite interesting thing. So I'm sure Mandhir also would talk about his close experience on that. So apart from that, we do run the practices on the regulatory and compliances side as well, regulatory risk and compliance, where do we do a deep review of the technological integration, compliance and compliances. So this again becomes a very what you can say specifically focused area when you have as an multiple the embedded finance integrations, I would say fintech integrations. They're just having the regulatory compliances, managing the risk, having proper security from the perspective of integrations or connecting the maintaining the different data sets into financial, non-financial entity, etc. So that is where this practice is also touch the embedded finance as such. Yeah, I mean, from the partnership perspective, we do work on fintech and financial institutions partnerships, which is again core part of embedded finance. Sorry for repeating this because I mean, in digital embedded finance is again very core to it. So that's the reason you might be seeing it coming again and again, the references of embedded finance wherever we work together. So Fintech Bazaar is another event which we largely run accelerator program, where we try to introduce newer fintechs who are doing innovative ideas in the BFSI sector to the investor as well as the potential partners as well. Online training, as I was saying earlier as well, that we do conduct it for the corporates. But so far, we have done trainings up to say 400 to 500 people for one of the largest bank as per se, who was going through digital transformation. And apart from that, we do it for fintechs as well as for the NBFCs and the banks as well. So from the reach perspective, we do run pretty good network here, and we do run the newsletter as such for the more than 22,000 readers are there for that, and we do have close connects with the WhatsApp group. From the influencer activities perspective, like we do webinar, podcast, market connect perspective, as we discussed, we have the Bharat Fintech Summit is one of part of them, and content perspective, you must be following our LinkedIn as well, where you will be able to see a lot of deep reports which we releases, which one of them was recently done for ONDC, which is available on our website as well. So how do we differentiate from that perspective? I would like to call out as like we largely all of us are practitioner. So whatever we do in the our day-to-day what you can say the projects or assignments is, and the past experiences is something helps us to go and deeply engage with the customer and try to closely work with them for addressing the needs and the problem statements, etc. So coming back to the topic, that's it from the introduction side. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to run this in two parts where try to talk about the embedded finance first. What is the embedded finance and banking as a service or open banking perspective, and then we'll talk about the architectural framework of embedded finance, some example case studies, experiences, and just try to talk through the some business models. How does it work for the embedded finance institutions? So once again, welcome all of you. Myself, Vikrant. I work with Digital Fifth as a principal consultant, handling most of the technological and business consulting services for the Digital Fifth. I've worked with the banks, fintech in this current practice as well. Prior to this, I was working with the banks and one of the early age, I would say the payment platform provider as well. So I would just like Mandir to introduce himself also. Mandir, over to you.
Thanks, Vikrant. So, hello everyone. So, I am working with the Digital Fifth as a consultant for the last 2 years. So, I've been majorly working in the practice of embedded finance as well as the digital strategy and the entire open banking strategy. So, I feel it'll be a great opportunity to share some of my experiences that I've gathered with multiple projects that I've worked on this side.
Yeah, thanks, Mandir. I mean, we have a few of the sessions which we would be running deep from the perspective of embedded finance. So, in case if you have any questions, as I was mentioning also earlier, also you can put it in the question answer box. We'll pick it up as the time permits. So, from the embedded finance perspective, the question would be the what is embedded finance? Likewise, a lot of logos you see here, none of them provides financial services on their own, right? So that is where embedded finance comes into the picture. Whenever there are non-financial enterprises try to offer the financial products and services for their customer to give them the better customer experience as well as to drive more convenience for the users. That is where the embedded finance come into the picture. So if I want to cut it down, embedded finance would be putting up financial services into the non-financial services applications or the services as such. I mean, if you take a simple example of Amazon, now Amazon also has a few of the financial services which are inside it. So be it a part of payments, be it part of lending, etc. Same is to Flipkart, Money Control, Tally, Zomato, the Big Basket. I mean, nowadays, if you pick up any of the non-financial products as well, which are matured enough and have captured the niche client and the needs of the client, usually they try to maintain the customer on their platform itself. So there it makes very sense to have financial services also there, so that the customer engagement is better, the customer experience is better. And I mean, just try to imagine the journey, what we used to do when we used to have the sort of the payment gateway experiences, right? When you start the transaction, then you have to go back to another platform. Then you will get some window coming up, popping up on your face, and then opening up the page for the transaction. Then you do the transaction. Then you don't know whether you will going to land on the earlier page again on the same way or not. Then again, those challenges about the not refreshing the page, waiting for the response but not getting the response, all those things. I mean, those experiences were the past experiences. I'm not sure how many of us in the session today might have experienced it also, because maybe lately, if I consider last 5 to 10 years, this has totally vanished. I mean, if I want to do just take an example of booking an Uber, right? If I want to go onto the Uber, or I would say Ola as well, if I want to do the booking for the Ola, I can directly do it from the Ola postpaid. I don't need to switch the platform, go from here to that application, etc. So those things are getting changed. I mean, the money control would be the one of the example, right, where we can book the FD on the platform itself. I mean, just to consider that the investment which you are doing on the non-financial platform, which is largely a news platform, but there you don't have to switch the platform. You just click on the button and you get it done then and there itself. So that has changed a lot of experiences for the end customer. And from the customer perspective, it has become another mode of accessing their own financial services. So we would try to talk about it, but just going back from the fintech side, we have largely talked about that has helped them. But what has helped bank to open up their services for such fintechs and broaden the area of their coverage outside their own customer base? So open banking is one of the core to it, right? So in I mean recent sessions we covered the open banking as well as a base of this, but just for the clarity of them who may not be able to join that, might not have joined the earlier workshops. So open banking is largely stands where the banks try to open up the services, financial services which they are providing outside their own platform. So likewise, just to give an example, like it would be the providing the account balances on the platform, which is not a bank's own mobile banking, right? Prior to this, if you want to check the mobile, your account balance, you had to access your mobile banking and check the balance there. But now that's not the case. You can have your enterprise platform just like Tally or Zoho, where you can see this balances and current account transaction, etc., on that platform itself without changing the platform. So that is where open banking starts. So one of the core thing about the open banking is a API, right? API, which largely called as a application programming interface, which has enabled this integration more easily. So was not that been easy prior to this? The answer is no, not. I mean, not really. I mean, it could have been still possible to have bank fintech relationship when you don't have APIs. But then there you will not have that real time experience. You will not have the what you can say the smoothness in the transactions or the experiences as such. There will be largely, I mean, many of people who have worked on the prior platforms prior to the adoption of, I would not say introduction because APIs have been introduced long back. But from the open banking perspective, the people who might have worked earlier onto this segment, they would know that the partnerships used to happen, still used to happen prior to this, but there was exchange of file information which would go. I mean, the file will come via SFTP, etc., which will add delay to the process, security compromised. You might have challenges there also. Services may not be available every time, right? And of course, you cannot do much about it. It's just like instead of sharing file one for whole day, you can bunch it up and share it on hourly basis, etc. And customer experience, again, it was sort of not so good experience for the customers as well. That is something which got sorted with the extensive use of APIs and trying to see the APIs as a connecting medium for the non-financial and financial services, which is outside the bank's own premises. So that is where the things got changed. So banking as a service is one of the use case which we would like to focus on when we talk about the embedded finance. So that is where the new segment of fintech players also came into the picture, which was called as a BaaS player. So banking as a service is like providing banking services on the platform, which can be easily embedded by the third parties, which are essentially the non-financial in case of embedded finance, so that they can adopt this services and provide these services to their customers in a simpler way. So what has changed is like definitely banks were able to get more and more customers on their platform, which was not part of their what you can say the targeted customer segment certain times, or it can be outside their the reach as well, because many of the banks may not be able to tap the customers all across the country, right? Because typically banks would like to have a focused area segment, etc., at certain cases. So embedded finance has changed. I mean, rather banking as a service has changed that shift, because now any platform can come on the BaaS I mean, any fintech can come on BaaS platform and provide this banking services to their customers, which essentially can be on digital customers, which are which can be spread across all the geographies. So that has changed. The time to market for third parties got simplified, because doing one integration on the BaaS platform versus doing same integration with the bank is quite differentiative. Because on the BaaS side, when you are working with the BaaS platform as such, already these integrations have been done, considering that the new fintech will start rolling immediately. And some of the, what you can say, the basic requirements have been taken care of, like handling of the error messages, or it can be basic simple ones like how the handoffs can be better, etc. So these things are already being solved on the BaaS platform. So that emerges a new segment as well into this. So yeah, from this perspective, I mean, we'd like to go deep into the enabling the embedded finance side, how that has been changed, what financial institution role are playing, what are the digital players they are doing. So I'd just request Mandhir to pick it up from here and share his experiences with us as well.
Thanks. So let's thanks for the introduction of the entire embedded finance phase till now, Vikrant. So mainly let's try to understand now what is the core principle of how these use cases are facilitated on the embedded finance side. So if you look at the like the two major players that are there, so we have the financial institutions, and the next we have the digital players. So what these financial institutions actually bring to the table is like they have a broad customer base that they work with on how they are enabling this financial services. Then they have a large capital that they can deploy. So this becomes important in cases of like how LSP framework works, or like they have capital to deploy on lending side, wealth side, etc. And next, so these financial institutions, they are the ones that are experienced with the regulatory landscape. So since they are directly regulated entities, so they would bring their regulatory experience in this entire exchange of services over there. And finally, they also have the extensive distribution capability. So they are already well versed with distributing this different financial products across platforms, utilizing different channels, and third party channels just become an additional source of revenue for them, or an additional source of how they can capture the customers. So on top of all these things, so like we discussed the open banking and the APIification that has happened on the financial product side. So what these digital players are doing is that they're leveraging these APIs on the bank side, the financial institution side, to build on top of it. So in a way that the digital platforms that we know, the embedded finance players that are there in this case, so they would actually provide the innovative product offerings by leveraging, and they'll work more on the customer experience side, on how the experience can be like optimized for the customer by embedding these journeys very aptly in their product as well, and leveraging their technology for distributing these entire financial products through their platforms. Now, what this is actually the impact of this is that we often see new business models that are built around these embedded finance use cases now, especially on some kind of alternate lending side. So mainly, while financial institutions would rely on, let's say, your traditional kind of like underwriting mechanisms, etc. But these like new business models can be created when these digital players will actually leverage their own customer data for having additional insights on how they can underwrite the customers, etc. And basis that have new lending models that can be launched. And by having a backing of these financial institutions at the back end, it also enhances the consumer trust. So like you trust more when you like, in case you are on a platform, but you already know that at the back end it's a well-known bank that is there. So it also enhances the trust of the customers to avail these services from these embedded finance players. And like we discussed, that the customer experience. So these digital players work harder on optimizing that entire customer experience for the customers, better utilization of data, leveraging the data of the core embedded finance player, the digital platform that is there, in addition to the India stack data that is available, as well as the banking data that is available from the financial institution. So all these different sources of data can actually be leveraged to provide these financial products. And the impact that it has is like, for financial institution perspective, is that a lot of cost reduction on the customer acquisition part. So they can actually acquire customers cheaper through this mechanism of embedded finance. Move to the next slide, please. So while we talked about the embedded finance player over here, which is will leverage a platform. So this platform is like with through embedded finance framework is technically acting as a fintech. And we talked about the financial institution. So now let's just complete the entire process flow by saying like, so how does the actual process work? So we have the customer which will interact on the this digital platform, which is using this embedded financial service. Now these platform will be connected to the financial institution, and through that they can either like based on case to case basis. So they in most of the cases there usually is an embedded financial infrastructure provider in between how these interaction works between the platform and the financial institution. So these will be your TSPs in a way that they'll provide the like let's say the lending tech player or the banking tech players that are actually and also the API aggregator platforms, etc. So these infrastructure players are actually like acting as an intermediary or a bridge between these digital platforms and the financial institutions to make sure that a seamless integration takes place, and also the benefits would be like time to market reduction, etc. We just given a couple of examples on here. So like on the retail side as well as on the business side. So like retail side, if you can see like an app like Swiggy or like an aggregator app. So how will the entire flow work is that the customer using that app is the starting point of the journey. So they'll go on to the digital platform. On digital platform via the infrastructure and the product that are there, so they can have access to the products that are sold. So for example, Swiggy would always like cross sell their co-branded credit card that they have. And so these co-branded credit cards and any kind of wallet offerings or the BNPL offerings. So all these are actually like services through this use case. And at the back end, there are banks and NBFCs that are actually fulfilling the use case. So similarly, this is on the retail side, one example. On the business side as well, if you see like let's say an e-commerce seller side app. So like for seller side app, there will be an interface for the customer, that digital platform from like say an Amazon or a Flipkart. And on that offering, there can be products such as business loans or co-branded commercial credit cards that are actually being offered to these merchant side via underlying banks and NBFC. So this is the entire process flow of the embedded finance use case. So just adding on to the previous slide on like this embedded finance infrastructure. So we are just like some for a representative purposes, we have shown some names over here. So like financial institutions, it will include all your banks, NBFCs, insurers, wealth firms, brokers. So the entire like the ecosystem of the BFSI ecosystem. So they act as the financial on the financial institution side. Now, what these institutions can do, they on and both the digital platforms. So in the middle, the bridge layer would be like an embedded finance infrastructure. So these could be your aggregator players. So you'll see names like Cashfree, Setu, Decentro, which is a BaaS platform. So all these players are actually providing that necessary infrastructure, which is required for these digital platforms to connect to these banks and for different use cases. So like we have just mentioned, so like entire transformation of for into a fintech, for example, in case of money control, or an Ola, which offers your lending, insurance, as well as payments, and Amazon as well, Amazon and Flipkart again on the lending and payment side. So all these in like this integration, this flow, these are some representative players on how these use cases are being fulfilled in the market. So now that we have discussed on the different participants, so we started with the customer, then we have the digital platform, then we have the infrastructure or the technology service provider, and finally we have the financial institutions. So this is the entire chain of this embedded finance use case. So let's just quickly understand like what are the benefits that are come with these cases. So on the customer side, so the customer that are using the services of the digital platform or the embedded finance player in this case, so it does add to an enhanced convenience to the customers. So let's say if they are like needing a financial services which is actually available easily to them through a platform that they're already using or they're well versed with using, so that just gives them like an enhanced convenience on actually purchasing these things. So like one very example that I would like to give over here is the kind of like let's say when you do a booking on Make My Trip, when you have like an insurance or something like that that is directly embedded over there. So a lot of time it does give you an enhanced convenience, right? So like you probably not do the effort to actually go and get their insurance otherwise in all the cases, but in case it is available on just a tick box, so that is a much higher inconvenience that is being provided on that side. You'll get customized financial products, very important. So these digital platforms, they do actually add value by leveraging their own data. So they do understand your behavior better, so they will actually make an effort to tailor the product based on your requirements. So that is a very important aspect of these embedded finance offerings. Then you have increased financial inclusion, with more reach that is there for these products through different platforms, and this actually enhances opportunities to increase financial inclusion by providing services like such as credit, etc., to the unserviced segments as well. So you get more accessibility to that. And finally, on the user experience side, like we discussed, that these tech first kind of companies, these digital platforms, they actually focus a lot on how you can improve the user experience on that side. So that is one aspect of it that is important. Now for the digital platforms, so the one obvious benefit that is there is that alternate revenue source that is that they get with embedding these financial products onto the platform. So with this alternate revenue source, they also would get a competitive business edge over their competitors in case. So like you actually have an alternate source of income which will drive both your top line and bottom line, and financial services being a very attractive segment on that front. So apart from that, so what these like embedding these financial services can actually do to your product is that it can enhance your customer loyalty as well. Now, this is the case where like a lot of these digital platforms have one important KPI would be on the retention side. So like how your engagement of the platform is increasing with this financial services. So you can actually have let's say something like account aggregator for in a PFM kind of a use case, etc., that is being used by some of these platforms that we'll discuss. And so this actually just increases the open rate of your application, that people actually use it for tracking your expenses or like spending patterns or habits as well. So with that increased retention and increased loyalty, you actually have a much more holistic engagement with your customer. And you also with like just adding on to that earlier use case itself. So let's say if you have an account aggregator or a bureau kind of an integration on top of your digital platform that you are using for a like a PFM kind of a use case, which is a personal finance management app kind of a use case, then you have also have a better customer insights on your customer. So this is very important in a way that these insights can actually be used to enhance your core offerings as well. So you can actually use this data, build models around it on how we can enhance the offerings, the core offering as well, with the additional data and insights that we have around the customer on the financial side of it. Yeah, we can move to the next slide, please. Now, how are the enablers or the infrastructure providers actually like completing this value chain? So what with this help of these infrastructure, so what we get in the entire embedded finance use case is that we get a one-stop solution for all the financial services. And so these infrastructures are actually reducing the time to market, as well as like the all the entirety of managing the integrations, like standalone integrations, let's say. So like if we want to take an example, let's say you are offering fixed deposits on top of your platform. So you actually have players like which are streamlining this entire integration process. What they are doing is that you don't have to do a one-on-one integration with each and every fixed deposit provider, but this aggregator kind of players will actually come and do the integration with all the financial institutions at the back end, and you give you a one single point of contact through this infrastructure provider, and that will help you to actually facilitate the entire fixed deposit booking from multiple multiple financial institutions on your platform. So all this integration processes is greatly streamlined. Like in some cases, the time to market for doing multiple integrations is actually reduced to like a couple of weeks, or like even better in for some platforms. So you actually have more accessibility as a digital platform looking to build on an embedded finance use case. And also you get personalized offering based on surrogate data. So these infrastructure providers will actually give you, like let's say if you now move from an FD kind of a use case, let's look at a lending use case. So these infrastructure provider will actually give you integration with the India stack players as well, any surrogate data. They'll also build capabilities on how the platform can leverage their own data, create like a data lake around that data, and use that to deliver, like build on insights on how you can personalize the offerings that are being offered on your platform. So that is one very important benefit that these embedded finance infrastructure player actually bring to the table. You can move to the next slide, please. So now talking about the financial institutions. So like we already discussed, you get a lower customer acquisition cost. You also get an expanded market reach for your products. Like you can actually target certain kind of personas which you weren't having access to before. Now with this like an fixed deposit kind of a use case, you'll often see a lot of small finance banks actually and promoting their FDs into in geographies that they probably didn't have access to before. So you have become in a way like a user persona agnostic or a geography agnostic in that way, that you have expanded market reach to for your products. And also you get additional insights on the customer data as well. In any case, like if let's say for facilitating a use case to for underwrite that particular customer, if let's say the digital platform is actually flowing back some of the data to the financial institution, you also as a financial institution would develop some additional insights on your customers, like what are their behaviors on the spending side, or like what are their behaviors on general customer behavior on digital platforms or the usage side. So and build a better like a robust persona around your customer as a financial institution as well. So let's just spend some time and look at like what are the tech considerations. So let's say from a perspective of a prospective embedded finance player over here. So what are the tech infrastructure integration considerations that you actually need to do? So you should be ready for like an API integration. So these would be important in for seamless availing of the financial services by the FI. So through though that could be either via an infrastructure provider, or it can be direct integration, standalone integration that the digital platform does on their side. So API integrations, there needs to be like and for adherence to relevant laws and regulations, to any developments that need to be done on the regulatory compliance tech. So while for let's say from a like an LSP kind of a loan service provider kind of a framework. So while you as a digital platform or an embedded finance player, while you don't directly come under the purview of the regulator, but it is important and it is your partner financial institutions duty to make sure that you adhere to this regulatory compliances as well. So any development that need to be done on how these audit trails are maintained, or how these privacy protection etc is maintained on a platform, all the tech consideration you have need to plan for that as well. And in case for a real-time risk analytics, now if you are looking to leverage the data that you have on lending for like underwriting on lending and insurance side, so you need to ensure that you have the necessary tech support and building that frameworks on how we can leverage this data as well. And now that these embedded finance players are actually entering a regulated kind of a realm, so these players would also need to do necessary integrations and plan for how they will have the on like KYC or a digital verification kind of frameworks on to just to comply with the regulatory requirements that come with operating in the financial services domain. And finally, on the user experience side, so you'll need to ensure that your embedded offering, it actually fits in right on top of your core offering in a way, or it fits in a way that it doesn't hamper the entire user experience that comes with offering with this offering. So it's so like just to put in a layman term, it shouldn't be like let's say I am offering some financial product. Like truly embedded journey would only be once like its UI and UX is actually like very similar or like on par with what is happening on the core platform. Now that is true in the case when you're only using an API kind of an integration, but when you're using an SDK kind of an integration, it is still important to plan for how you can streamline this UI UX for the entire financial products that are being offered through your digital platform. So let's just quickly look at some examples. So I believe we already touched upon Amazon in the earlier part. So what these e-commerce companies generally, like Flipkart and Amazon, what they are doing is that they are becoming like an e-commerce for fintech kind of a way. So if you look at Amazon Pay, so where it does offer like the payment services on with BBPS integrations, also on the UPI that they offer. But apart from that, you'll see like there are insurance and investment offerings. You'll see car insurance, bike insurance. You also have some investment offering in terms of gold vault, etc. And to actually facilitate credit on the platform, so they have introduced engagement frameworks as well. You have a free credit score check. You can do a KYC, which is also required for doing the for the wallet that they have on the platform as well. So all these frameworks that are there that are being leveraged on the embedded finance side, and these also Flipkart as well. Like they recently they do have a BNPL and a credit cards as well, co-branded credit cards that they offer with multiple institutions. And now apart from that, so like Flipkart also has recently started giving out like personal loans, etc. as well. So mainly they're becoming a marketplace for financial products as well as like time like with the increasing evolution of this entire embedded finance landscape. So these platforms are actually leveraging kind of a very holistic approach to this. Well, please. So now just spend some time on what is platforms like Ola or the mobility ride sharing apps are doing. So in case you want, so we do have financial products on a platform like Ola on both sides for riders as well as cab partners. So for riders, you'll see that there is a postpaid feature that is available on top of the wallet that they have, or wallet that they already have. Then you'll see features like insurance. So very interestingly, you'll see insurance being embedded in the journey. Like let's say if you are booking a cab to the airport, so there is actually an embedded kind of an insurance and guaranteeing your claim that you'll reach the airport on time, etc. And then you obviously have payments that are embedded in the app digital platform itself, and also co-branded credit cards that they offer. And finally on the cab partner side as well. So all these what actually distinguishes this embedded finance player is that you have access to a market on both your from a platform perspective, both on the buyer side as well as on the supplier side. So you have the cap partners as well. So and that way, like Ola has also leveraged introducing like loans as well as certain insurance or kind of plans for their cap partners as well through the driver partners that they have. They do have a network and they have data around them as well. So a lot of products that can be made by leveraging Ola's core data over there and building financial products on top of it. Move to the next slide. So, spending some time on the food and delivery aggregators, so Zomato and Swiggy. Again, so like now for Zomato and Swiggy, if you see the offerings, so they are like the platform customers that are there. You also have the delivery partners that they have, and finally also the restaurants that work with this Zomato. So you have actually have offerings for all of them, and they also have rich data around the customer. So they do so with leveraging like modern day data science practices and models, you can actually with the understanding on how much that the customer is spending on the food or like the spending behavior on top of it, you can actually have a fair idea on what like let's say a category of a customer that the customer is on, like what is their income, probably an estimate of an income evaluation, etc. as well. So by leveraging all this data that these platforms have, so they have actually also providing offerings. So for customers, you have like wallet you have a co-branded credit card on Swiggy as well. Now apart from the customers, with the interesting part over here is that for the delivery partners also, so since they do have an what is the payout that these delivery partners are getting on a monthly basis, they do have that information. So they are actually offering like flexible loan options. So you have early payout loans, which are like whatever earning that the delivery partner is supposed to get, you can actually get that as an early payout. And you also have like small ticket size loan, which are offered in terms of weekly installments, etc. So all these kind of products that exist on the delivery partner side, and finally on the restaurant side as well. So for restaurants as well, to scaling up their platform, they do offer like term term loans and credit lines for the restaurant partner that are working with Swiggy as well. So I've just we just added like a couple of press releases. So like Swiggy actually facilitated around 102 crores to its delivery partners in a year span, and also their capital assist program, which was empowering restaurants with financial institutions, and for on the by offering like term loans and credit line kind of products on top of their platforms. So what are the other emerging trends? So basically, what this embedded finance is actually fulfilling is that it's enabling every digital platform to act as a fintech, and this is what we foresee. Like as the use cases keep on developing, and as more and more people will actually when the internet economy that is already on the rise, so like everybody is using these digital platforms. So with that, every digital platform will eventually act as a fintech by servicing any of the payments, lending, insurance, etc. And there is a lot of scope that is still there in the industry. So like so apart from the example that I've already given over here, I'll also like to call, like, let's say healthcare as well as education, like with platforms like 1mg, Practo, etc. And also on the education sides, on like how education loans that can be serviced through these platforms, or aggregators that are there which are providing you information about colleges, etc. So all this is already being done, but with how when this use cases actually get more solidified with API-fied, or I would like to say like more APIs are available around these use cases. So these platforms will also have deeper integrations on for servicing these kind of products on top of their platform. Now, if we look at these two examples that we have called out over here, so like one is on the secured lending side and also on the rental side. So like platforms like No Broker, Magic Bricks, etc. So they can actually have like facilitate apps for rental management entirely. So it can work in a similar way that there can be a platform for the tenant side as well as on the property owner side on facilitating payments. So there are actually startups that are doing work on that front as well, in a way that, let's say, you embed this app or like this services through me, and you can actually like send those reminders to the tenant on rent payments and etc. And also kind of financing that you can be done for both landowner and as well as the tenant side on top of these apps. So this entire facilitating of rentals. And as for right now, if you look at Magic Bricks for on the housing finance side, so while they would offer like a aggregator view of like applying for home loans that is done, so they do have partnerships around 30 odd banks for like starting this loan application journey from the home loan side. But these are still like very like on a high level, like a lead sharing kind of an integration. So we foresee that once these on the digitalization that is happening on the secured lending side, like that is the next key focus area around all. So once this digitalization and APIfication happens, and more platform with the SROs, and now with the recent budget also introduced some frameworks around Bhu-Aadhaar and digitalization of land records. So once all these things happen, so these platforms will also be able to like leverage this infrastructure that develops around the secured lending part to actually have deeper integrations on this housing finance kind of a use case. And this will be one big kind of an embedded finance use case in the future. And on the digital commerce side, I would like to touch on ONDC. So what ONDC? I'll just quickly touch on the principle. Like ONDC, it's actually enabling any kind of an app to leverage ONDC and becoming either a buyer application or a seller application. Now, ONDC is actually now having financial services, like a lot of these financial information providers that are actually coming onto the platform to facilitate like sell their products as a seller on ONDC. Now, this actually gives a framework for any kind of a consumer app to integrate with ONDC, and they're technically acting as an embedded finance player by becoming a buyer application through their application that these sellers can actually facilitate financial products. So this is one core offering that we foresee that a lot of embedded finance adoption will increase with this ONDC framework gaining more popularity. Move to the next slide, please. So now let's quickly touch on how do we build an embedded financial model? Like what are the considerations that need to be taken care of, and what is the overall like approach or a high level approach for building these models. So let's say the first step would be understanding your customers. Very important that you build very detailed personas around your customers. So a lot of time these, if in case you are talking about these big tech platforms that are there, so the digital platforms actually have a very varied customer base as well. So you need to build those personas, like build those necessary cohorts, and like put your customers in the segments, and based on the segments you need to identify the needs of that customer, and then identify that one problem statement that you're trying to solve through the offering this embedded finance kind of products. So that is the first part, understanding of customers. Then you need to design your products. By identifying your problem statement, you need to define your product features and how understand how this is creating a value for your customers, and then develop journeys. So a lot of product management principles that actually can be leveraged over here. You need to like be quick, we need to be iterative, you need to be leverage design thinking, make sure how your product is actually, this embedded finance product is actually not kind of hampering the entire user experience that you offer on top of your platform. So these are a few consideration on the product design side. And then use of technology and security. You need to make sure that you are leveraging using technology in a way that you are in an agile way, you are testing for the scalability, you are doing the necessary integrations, you are addressing any kind of privacy or like any compliance perspective that is there, that comes with this financial services kind of a way. And also how you develop a plan for rollout and like this gradual scale up of your products. So that use of technology and security is a one key consideration that needs to be done. And finally, on the GTM part, you need to launch product to the set of customers. Now again, this will entail like your basic product management kind of frameworks, like you need to do a pilot, you need to do an alpha testing, beta testing, etc. And based on the feedback that you get from these the small set of customers that you do, you actually try to get that feedback, then you plug in the gaps and you improve your customer journeys, and based on that you plan for a wider rollout, and that will include your entire marketing kind of a structure, and like you plan for a rollout and on like what segments to target and how to get insights on top of how your journey is behaving. And again, it's a feedback and an iterative loop. You just keep on learning from your product launches, and then you keep on implementing and sending the product back into the market. So that is the entire framework of building an embedded finance product from a direct to customer perspective, at least. Can we move to the next slide, please? So what are the challenges that are associated with, let's say, launching these embedded finance products? So one very, like with the experience that we have had with working with multiple projects, is that on the user persona alignment. Now, like we said, that you need to build those robust personas around your customer, but now you need to make sure that this also like aligns with like whatever embedded finance product that you are offering on your platform. It does align with your persona of the user or the needs of the user. It needs to clearly address those. It becomes important in a way that in case like you offer something as an embedded finance product which is very far from your core business, or like your user does not require it, it won't fly as a product for very long. So you need to actually make sure that this planning and problem identification in this persona and persona identification practice is done very rigorously. You like we discussed multiple times, the regulatory compliance and the data security. Like since we are entering the, so you need to make sure that you have necessary framework now with the DPDPA coming and the DEPA or the GDPR laws. Data localization becomes very important. If you're working as like a LSP kind of a structure, you need to ensure that your data is in India, and like you need to in your product side, you need to do necessary changes in a way like geotaggings, etc., on your product as a digital platform, for so making sure that your data access is limited to India. And then you have how the challenges are strategic brand positioning as well. So if you have a core business, in case you are opting for like a complete pivot, then this you need to reposition your brand. Otherwise, if it's like an additional offering on top of your core business, you need to ensure that with this embedded finance foray that the product that the platform has done, it doesn't change the positioning of the brand in the market. You need to make sure that the brand still aligns with their core business and not with what a supplementary kind of a use case that they are fulfilling through embedded finance. finance. And then on the user interface and experience design, so like I probably already touched on, in kinds of like an SDK kind of an integration, you need to ensure that your user experience of your platform and these financial products that you're embedding, it remains the same. And finally, on the management support, very important with with the experience that we have had, you need to ensure that with at every level, from the highest level, as well as you have on the stakeholders are aligned with this exercise that you are doing on launching these embedded finance products on top of on your digital platform. So you need management support becomes a key perspective in running this kind of a program. Can you move it, please? So now just quickly touching on the approach. So we have mostly like how we solve those challenges that we have discussed. So this is one of the steps that we said, like how you plan for the, so this is one kind of a blueprint. So like you need to understand what product and services will help in the existing business model. You need to have synergy that you identify with the existing business model as well. And in case you are offering for an embedded, like a completely different product, and how your existing business model can actually service your this embedded offering. Then you need to have so once you have identified that offering, you need to make sure that you do your necessary, you have the understanding on what kind of a financial partner that you're looking for in the in terms of FIs, as well as in the infrastructure provider. Like if I want to based on my needs, on let's say if my persona, I know that probably this is the interest kind of a range. If I'm if in for a lending kind of a use case, embedded lending, this is the interest range that I'm looking for. So I need to partner with the right customer base. On like if with the financial institution, if there's like a particular persona that the financial institution only caters to, which aligns with what the persona that I have identified for my platform. So then I need to identify that right partner on the financial institution side, as well as on the technology service provider side, which offers you the necessary agility and customization for these embedded finance offerings. Then you need to ensure the regulatory and compliances that we discussed, that they will need to ensure that the RE's compliance and regulatory policies uh, these embedded finance players are also adhering to. You need to build an MVP product, and by leveraging effective technology and product design, enhance that UI UX, and finally, before launch of the product and post launch, you need to ensure that you are learning from the product, enable learning and refinement of the product, and overall how it is contributing to the growth as an embedded finance kind of an ecosystem. You can move to the next slide. So I would just like to spend some time on like a case study in a way that how we are actually looking at like this financial news platform leveraging financial products. So in case, let's say how this product actually is being leveraged. So let's say I want to build a digital platform that I have. So this is a financial news platform which has a lot of uh, customer base and the customer that are actually visiting that platform, and how they are increasing the engagement on the platform is by like deploying frameworks like account aggregator and credit score checks that can happen on the platform, and based on that offering products like fixed deposits and personal loans. So and by leveraging this data, so they partnered with a lending tech enabler and a banking tech enabler, as well as account aggregator partners such as FinView, to offer products such as that we discussed about. And these are the financial information providers, like on the bank lender side, you have L&T Finance, Five, etc. And then you have your FIPs as well, that are offering your fixed deposits, like multiple financial institutions. So we've represented, I think, with like let's say Utkarsh or Bajaj Finservs, and also on the account aggregator data. So what this does is that it the impact that is have is that you have higher customer satisfaction for the platform. You can have drive this greater lifetime value for the customer, and also have an increase in the entire revenue that comes with this embedded finance offering. And you will also have like access to a larger pool of customers as a financial information provider. And with by leveraging this large customer base of the platform, you'll have lower cost of acquisition as a financial information provider. So and this will overall lead to an increased market penetration. So these are like one typical case on how the embedded finance works, and I think we'll close with this. And please let us know in case there are any questions.
I think, Mandir, there was a question from the perspective of data handling, how the data can be better handled from the perspective of partner and from the perspective of the financial institution. Maybe you can spend a minute on that.
Sure. So, in case of data handling, so I believe so it is very important that your data handling practices, it actually complies with the necessary data privacy laws. So one very good way of doing that is like you actually use aggregated insights instead of like using data as a whole, and you always kind of try to have a like a one particular identifier without sharing of any kind of a personal information of data, personal information, PII data that is there, that is shared between these platforms. So with these basic practices, you it in a way that you stay compliant with these necessary privacy regulation laws, and you can actually leverage these insights from these data.
Yeah, let me check if there are any other questions. No, I don't think so. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mandir, for sharing your insights with the team as well. So yeah, would just like to request few of the questions we which have come to one-on-one. We couldn't answer it due to time constraint, but we would try to answer it soon. So please bear with that. So thank you again for joining us. Thanks, Mandeep. Yeah.